Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among other things. Now, I want to go ahead and discuss with you here a little bit about Ethereum Classic, and we're going to take a look at the technical charts. There's no fundamentals here, just kind of to get a quick baseline on what's going on in the market by taking a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. Okay, so we'll just kind of get a well-rounded understanding of what's going on so you can make an informed decision, find you a good entry point, and help you understand how to become a better trader along the way. Right? Teach you how to fish instead of fishing for one day, right? I don't want to hand you one. I'm going to get you the pole, make sure you cast a good line, right? So either way, that's neither here nor there. I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. Always do your own research. And if you'd like $25 in Bitcoin from Voyager, link in the description below. Furthermore, I have a link to my Patreon account if you'd like to show your support. If you do find benefit, of course, I'm going to have signal groups moving forward so you can be well informed and stay in the know. That's coming soon, along with some live streams as well. And just know that I am very thankful for everything you guys have shown me so far. All the support, really awesome, good group of community. What I'm referring to there is my Telegram group, a really good group of folks, as well as my Patreon subscribers. So thank you again so much. Now, without further ado, let's just go ahead and check it out. Let's get to it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum Classic. And just before we do, we always take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, the two largest market capitalizations out there, to ensure we understand specifically what's going on in the market before we make an investment. So let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin first. And just to preface, this is the Binance desktop application through TradingView. I'm using the TradingView chart, so you can just click on that up in the corner if you'd like to follow along. And I do have the 200 and the 50-day moving average included here. These are the simple moving averages, and they are effective the most on the 4-hour and the 1-hour charts. So we're looking at the 4-hour here just for the baseline here, and just want to show that the 50-day moving average is working as a resistance level at this point. It was a previous support, but that was only for a short time. That was very much short-lived. But at this point in time, we're looking at 30,000 as the major low, the current support level, and of course the resistance is 42,000. It might be safe to say, though, that there is a support level forming at about 34,000. So just kind of be mindful of that. It's come in this area a few times here so far. Okay. The 200-day moving average is a ways off. We don't need to worry about that for a while. And all in all, this is kind of just standard Bitcoin stuff right now. We had the head and shoulders pattern that is coming down to an end. And usually when a head and shoulders pattern ends, the price will have a chance or a tendency of recovering. So, based on traditional chart patterns, you could say that it might be safe to presume that the price would come back up to hopefully test 42,000 in the near future. Again, God only knows what's going to happen with Bitcoin. So that is it right there. Now looking at Ethereum. Ethereum on the 4-hour chart tells us a very similar story. As we can see, the 50-day moving average is working as a resistance, was a previous support for a slightly larger amount of time. But all in all, Ethereum is doing the same thing Bitcoin is right now. It can't quite break away just yet, but bottom line is that it's performing almost the same, right? So if you want to just understand how Ethereum is going to work, for now, you can estimate that it's going to just continue to clone Bitcoin, at least for a little bit longer. It usually does a lot better than Bitcoin. When Bitcoin does poorly, people, just the investors, whomever, goes over to Ethereum. But in this case, that's not it's not happening, at least for right now. And I think it's just because of the constant sell-off and indecision in the market. The 200-day moving average is hovering around 3,100, so just be mindful that'll be the next major resistance level. However, there is a pretty strong resistance level that's formed here at roughly 2,900. So I'd say that's the next largest milestone once we break above the 50-day moving average. Okay. So looking at Ethereum Classic here, we're just going to work our way down from the 1-day chart all the way down to the 1 minute, preferably, sometimes just the 15, just to make sure we understand a good entry point. But at this point, we can kind of see a very similar trend here to Bitcoin. Obviously, with a very large increase, we see a very large sell-off. Traditionally, any type of increase like this that it had, where it jumped up like 300 or 400% in 5 days, is followed by a retracement, and that retracement is usually about 50%. In other words, it usually retraces down about halfway. So we're down in this lower quadrant here, below the support level of about $82 approximately. So until it breaks above that, it's going to continue to work as a resistance level, but this should be the average true range, and we're talking about 82 upwards of 110. That's where we should see the price for Ethereum Classic. Based on the fact that Bitcoin's doing poorly, it makes sense as to why it's lower than that. But just keep in mind that is generally where we should see the price range, just based on the kind of the average retracement for a significant increase. And I think that we would have been fine hadn't the China candle occurred here, with that whole finance issue over in China with Bitcoin. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. That's what Ethereum is looking like right now for the 1-day chart. Not much else to note really. RSI and MACD are kind of trending towards neutral, for lack of better terms, neither oversold or overbought, not overextended or underextended, just right there in the middle, which is pretty standard for everything that's going on right now. Good news is though, the 50-day moving average is working as a support level. As you can see, it's held pretty strong over the past few days. In other words, last 2 weeks, the price has dipped below, but it very rarely will close below the 50-day moving average. So as this continues to increase, we should see the price increase as well. So it's safe to presume at this point in time, pending Bitcoin doesn't go sub 30,000, that we should see the price to continue up past 82, or at least get up to that point, test and maybe work itself into a small channel and then break above. So I would say my prediction for Ethereum Classic is in the next 5 to 10 days, we will see a price range of 82 upwards of 110. Again, this all relies on Bitcoin just kind of staying in a state of consolidation. If it continues to do what it's been doing, we will see Ethereum Classic break. All right, so 4-hour chart, quick look here. First thing to note is the moving averages. We are seeing the 50-day moving average still working as a resistance level. It was a support for a longer period though. So if you saw Ethereum and Bitcoin, this is a much larger period, which is nice. It shows that, again, the price should be higher than where it's at. It's driven down because of indecision, but I can tell you that once this 50-day moving average is broken and the price comes up and stays above the 200, we're going to be in pretty darn good shape to break the $82 mark and to increase past that point. So just be aware of that. We are looking to all the indicators are telling us good things here. And then if we look at the MACD, also swinging in upward direction there, usually that implies that there is a bullish sentiment and it's a good time to buy in a swing trade. Okay, so look at the 4-hour chart. It's very helpful for swing traders. Obviously, you want to find a better entry point, maybe in the 15-minute chart or the 1-hour chart. But the 4-hour chart is probably the most effective approach to being a swing trader because of the fact that it gives you the most realistic time frames. The 1-day chart's a little large. 15 is obviously very small. 4-hour, it kind of splits the difference and makes it a really nice, nice time frame for the moving averages. So you can kind of expect these to be very accurate. And that's again what other industry leaders or the computers are doing that are actually buying and selling all this and controlling the market. They use these same indicators. Okay. So anyways, the RSI is fair to middling, nothing crazy there. It's under under the halfway point of 50. So I guess you could say it's considered to be bearish because if you ever notice like RSI, for example, there are like these imaginary lines that kind of hold the price above and below. Anything over a 50, 55 is essentially considered bullish, and under 45 to 50 is considered bearish. So just something to note. I don't put a ton of weight into that, but that does kind of tell you that we're on the lower quadrant here, so to speak. And there's kind of like an imaginary line right here. All right, moving on to the 15-minute chart. We're just going to take a quick peek, see if we can find a good entry point for you. And honestly, with finding entry in this scenario, you've probably, if you see my videos, you know where I'm going with this. I usually disable the moving averages, the simple moving averages, because they just they're not as effective as the others that I like to use. And I like to use the VWAP and the EMA. So the VWAP is the volume weighted average price. This is blue line here. And this just tells us the average volume of the last 24 hours expressed as a price. And so what's great about this is the price is currently above the VWAP line. Okay, and the reason why that's helpful is because the VWAP really works as a consistent or a continuous support and resistance level. So when the price is below, it's considered bearish. Above, it's considered bullish. And it's a good sign when the price is above because that was going to work as a support level. So oftentimes the price will come down if it were to reduce. It'll bounce off the VWAP line and show that it's holding as a support line. So just something to kind of maybe add to your portfolio if you were to, because it's a really helpful tool that works only on smaller time frames, right? You can't use it on the 4-hour chart or higher. You're looking at 15 minutes or less. So even if you're a swing trader, you're trying to find a good entry, peek at the 15-minute chart, turn on the VWAP and see kind of what's going on there. Then you can know, kind of what side of the of the coin essentially you're on before you decide to invest. And this is a way that I find confirmation before I take entry. I never like to take entry on a position if I don't have full confirmation. And full confirmation for me is just making sure that the price is either above the VWAP line or is testing and holding above. So if you're to wait, just say, and be patient for the price to come down a little further, see if it tests and bounces off the VWAP line. That would be confirmation. And when I say test on the 15-minute chart, I'm talking about 2 solid green bars that stay above and hold. So an example that would be, just say, these 2 green bars here, these are essentially above VWAP, and that is a confirmation I'm looking for. They need to be 2 solid green bars that close above that line. And that's the confirmation I look for, so I would hypothetically take an entry here, see the price comes back down, bounces off of VWAP, and continues upwards. So that would be a good case in point to get a nice entry. Again, that's just an example of how that works. It's not foolproof, but it does help. Another thing to add also is the EMA line. So if you're unfamiliar with this, it's the exponential moving average. It works very well on shorter time frames. So anything under 15 minutes is going to work more effectively. So another case in point, obviously, so looking at this, had you had both indicators on, this would be a perfect entry point. Because again, the price is over VWAP, and you're over the EMA. Because the EMA is essentially telling us what the momentum is. It's either bullish, like in this example here, or it's bearish, like down here. You never want to take entry if you're taking a long position on the underside of the EMA. It's kind of a risk and a kind of a gamble. And I'm sure you say like, oh, look at this is great. That looks like a good entry. No, that's wrong. And the reason why it's not a good entry is because you don't have confirmation. The price could continue to go down and you are chasing the bottom in that case. Never chase the bottom. Only use good confirmation. So look for things like this. So if you're a short-term swing trader, say you hold for 1 day, upwards of 30 days, maybe even longer, look for entry points like this on the 15-minute chart, and it'll help you in the big picture. Again, obviously use a 4-hour chart to understand what's going on, but use the 15 or perhaps lower. I prefer the 15 personally just because it gives me stronger confirmation, and just make sure you utilize that. Because just say you take entry here, you see, look, the price comes down, bounces off of the VWAP and the EMA, and continues upwards. Comes down, tests the EMA again, holds, and eventually loses EMA. So we're likely on the downside here. So this should continue to push the price down to the VWAP. And at that point, see if the price bounces off the VWAP and is tested. And if it bounces and holds, stays above for 30 minutes, 2 15-minute green bars, then we're going to be looking in good shape to take another entry. But ideally, what you do in this scenario here, if you can see where the RSI peaks up over 70, when you take an entry like this, you want to wait for the RSI to come up and then to come back down. In other words, you might have heard like, okay, RSI over 70 is a good sell signal. That's true, but it's not like the sell signal. The best sell signal is to wait for the price to come back down and pass that 70 line. Inverse applies as well with 30, right? So if you look back here, if the price ever came down below 30, look at this RSI right here, price came down under 30, but it was a much better buy when it came back up. Okay. Let me give you a better example here on the selling side, right? So say you took entry right here. You want to hold as long as you can, of course, but you never truly know when it's going to come back down, right? So what you do is you pay attention to the RSI. RSI is coming up, peaks up over 70 right here. Okay, that's somewhere in this range here. Now, it's not a bad exit point, don't get me wrong. That's still a pretty good percent. What does that get us? That nets us almost 5%. That's cool. That's fine. I like that. 5% is actually a good trade, and in such a short amount of time. That's what, two hours to get a 5% gain. It's not bad. When the price comes up like this, though, just say, for example, you wait for the RSI to come back down. RSI came down right here. Crosses that plane. It's somewhere in this range here, plus or minus. Of course, it could be a little bit lower, but it's still a better gain. It's still a larger gain. All right, now if we were to do the math on that, again, hypothetically, that's an extra 1.5%. So instead of a 5% gain, you got 6.5%. That is a much better entry point. So again, pay attention to the RSI. Never just sell as soon as it comes up over RSI. over 70 on the RSI, because that'll kind of shortchange you in most cases. The best thing to do is obviously sell at the tip of the RSI, but the second best thing, the more reliable thing to do, is wait for it to come back down, cross that plane. As soon as it does, you go ahead and sell your position, or trim, maybe take 20% off the top if you're just considering trying to consistently trim and average your price down. Again, just things to kind of be mindful of and think about. But to me, again, Ethereum Classic it needs to be between 82 cents and $82, $82 and 110. It should be between 82 and 110. So just note that right now, even though the price is under the EMA and it's coming down, I wouldn't recommend an entry point until you get confirmation above the EMA line. But even still, with that being said, I do feel like this is a very affordable and good price for Ethereum Classic. Again, as long as Bitcoin can continue to progress the way that it has, and not go lower than 34, 33,000, or trend towards 30, then Ethereum Classic will be in great shape. But if you feel that Bitcoin will continue to go lower, then don't invest in this, right? That's why we look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first to kind of get a baseline what's going on. Without that baseline, that this is all null and void. It doesn't matter how good of a chart you have on a coin like this if Bitcoin decides it wants to drop its bottom. Okay, so again, just things to be aware of, things to be mindful of. So again, my prediction is 82 to 110 for the price action here in the next 5 days. Again, this is all contingent on Bitcoin just kind of leveling out and in between, just say 38 and 42,000. If you can do that, we're good. But make sure you wait for confirmation here. Let the price continue to go down a little further. Wait for confirmation. And then at that point, once you have that confirmation, go ahead and take entry above the EMA. Again, it should look something like this. All right, so if you found benefit from this, please like and subscribe. Feel free to join my Telegram community and show your support on my Patreon account. I'm going to have some signal groups very, very soon. I'm working on that, as well as some live streams here in the very near future, just ironing out a couple of kinks. I do have a new microphone. Hopefully it sounds better, and we'll make sure that we continue to have good quality content here for you all. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.